Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, and I have with me Kevin Weir, as opposed to me, Kevin Stafford. Kevin Weir is a licensed business coach with Action Coach Business Coaching. He has over 25 years of coaching experience, both in business and career coaching. He's also a Spokane, it's Spokane or Spokane? It's Spokane, right? Okay, I always thought that up. It's a Spokane, Washington native and a former U.S. Army officer. That's just scratching the surface. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I promise it'll be I shouldn't promise. I will try to make that the last Kevin joke I make in this podcast, but I can't promise.
No problem. You got it.
So let's start at your start. Let's begin at your beginning. How did you become / discover that you were a coach? And then what prompted you to take that knowledge of yourself to move into a coaching business?
So obviously one of the things that I did my 4 years in the Army, I went and got my MBA, and my dream was to be a corporate America. You know, everybody wants to climb the corporate ladder. Well, after 2 failed starts with Fortune 500 companies, I realized I was not cut out for corporate life. And so I'd come to the end of my rope. Nobody wanted to hire me. And so I hired a career coach. And while going through the career coaching process, he said to me, he says, you know what, I think you would be a really good fit for doing exactly what I do in coaching. I thought, okay. So one day I come into his office and he's gone. And I go to his secretary. I said, where's Mark? He says, he took a job with the church because he was also an ordained minister. So they hired him full time. I said, well, I'd be interested in the job. And so I thought, long shot. But guess what? They interviewed me. And in the interview, the owner of the career coaching firm says, you know, I'm giving you a courtesy interview just because you're a client. 45 minutes later, he says, I'm bringing you in for a second interview. Third interview, got the job. And so I was off to the races. And so I started my first 5 years in career coaching. But one of the things was as I was coaching people in career change, some of them would say, you know what, I think I've changed my mind. I want to start a business or buy a business. So I said, sure. And so I started coaching with them and I had so much success. Some of them said, well, why don't you do this whole business coaching full time? So in 2002, decided to make the big leap, and we did some research, found Action Coach was the franchise, and decided, well, I'm going to go for it. So I've been doing business coaching side of it ever since 2002.
Man, I love how you basically just kept answering the question. It's just like you would just be good at being a coach, and then someone would say, how about you just do this for a living? And you were like, okay, yes, I will.
That's exactly what happened.
I love it. It's often it's in retrospect, in hindsight, of course, it's easy to cut away all the fat and realize how simple it was, how relatively easy it was to just realize that you were a coach and then just to go about doing it. But I love that part of the story, because it's really important to understand that, like, once you're through it, you're going to look back and be like, oh, yes, you're going to have that feeling. It's like, I said yes to the right question at the right time.
Exactly.
So just think about that, because when you're in the moment, it might feel a little messy, a little chaotic. You'll have a lot of uncertainty. Just remember that down the road, when you say yes to the right questions, you're going to feel great about what you've done.
Yeah. At the time when he said that, I was kind of like I'm not so sure about it. But as I talked to my wife said, yes, that is you. And so when I interviewed, I really wasn't all that convinced I could do the job, but they convinced I could do it. And I'm like, okay, let's give this a shot. And 25 plus years later, here I am.
I love it. You were believed in by your wife, and you were believed in by the people who wanted to pay you to do it. That's pretty good. That's a pretty convincing argument.
My career coach believed in me. My wife believed in me, and I'm off to the races.
I love it. Love it. Well, let's talk about your races. Let's talk about the last 25 years up to today. What does your coaching business look like now? Who do you coach? How do you coach them? One-to-one, group, keynote speeches, all of the above?
So I started off, just a kind of a quick story, started off my home office and then just started growing the firm dramatically. So I started going from one coach, and I hired a bunch of other coaches, mainly focused in the home building industry. And then 2009 hit. Bang. So I now am focusing on a lot of different areas. Most of my clients are one-on-one coaching clients. So One of the things I focus in on is business owners, especially in industries like such as medical. So I coach a lot of chiropractors, dentists. I actually have a book that I wrote called I actually co-authored it called How to Create a Healthy Dental Business. So I do a lot of coaching. Yep, it's on Amazon. And
Awesome.
I also wrote a book called First Aid for a Wounded Business back in 2011. So that's on Amazon also. And so a lot of my clientele are usually involved in medical. I do a lot. I still do some builders and anybody in the home building industry, although 70% of your clientele in one very volatile industry wasn't a smart move way back when. So I do a lot of retail, creative agencies. I've got some creative agencies I coach. So it's a good, solid mix. But yeah, I also have an company that does virtual reality emporium. So fun company, and it's nice to be their coach because I go over their place and get to play free virtual games. Pretty nice.
That's pretty nice.
I do have most of my clients are one-on-one, although I do quarterly group workshops with all of my clients to help them put together their business plans for the next 90 days.
Okay, that's awesome. I love how broad of a spectrum of types of clientele you have. Even, I mean, business is business and there's always commonalities throughout, but I just love how you have especially that you have oil, you have real estate, like classic, grounded businesses. And then you've got the relationship with the VR firm, the metaverse being what's on everybody's mind and lips these days. That's awesome.
But what's interesting, Kevin, is that I will get an idea from, say, a moving company, and that same idea will be excellently used in, say, a chiropractor's office. Here's the problem is that there's a lot of ideas that work in an industry, but nobody will do that because the industry has their way of doing things. And my job is to say, wait a minute, why don't we cross-pollinate from ideas from over this industry and use it in this industry? And then when it works, they go, how'd you figure that out? It's like, it works in one industry. Why can't we do it in another industry? But too many times we have this industry speak that goes on that says only this works in this industry. And I think that's the power of really having a great coach, is that I'm looking at all different industries and pulling ideas from different industries that will work across platforms.
Yeah, an outside voice with the inside connection, where you have that ability to understand the various lingo and language and sometimes overly insular traditions and habits in other businesses that are successful, and be able to say, you know what, this core concept right here, perfect for you, and then here's how it applies to you.
Exactly
right. You do a little bit of that translation work, guide them to their next success, and then all of a sudden they look at them and it's like, wow, I never would have thought of that. It's like, well, that's why you got me.
And that's what you see these people who go to industry conferences, and they come out of industry conferences and they have the usual solutions, and it's supposed to be lather, rinse, and repeat. And then I'm coming in there going, no, look at it from different angles. And then they can go, oh, wow, that's amazing. So, yeah.
It's funny how little it takes to have such a powerful impact. Basically, just knowing the exact right thing to say, just knowing the right thing to say about the right subject matter at the right time, and just knowing to look for that. And so you, as the coach, you see it, you say it, you watch the light go off behind their eyes and their head, the little light bulb pop up over their head, and you're like, you see?
Yeah, and that light bulb, what we call that light bulb, is the blinding flash of the obvious, or the Homer Simpson effect. Oh! Because my job as a coach is to fly somebody up to 30,000 feet and see the big picture. Most business owners are all the way down in the forest, and all they can see is trees. Yeah. And so that's where the power of coaching comes in, is to say, hey, I'm taking you out of your day-to-day grind and showing you a much bigger picture and much wider diversity of solutions that you're not going to get to because you're just in that trench, in those trees every single day.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to give you a chance before we go. I know we try to keep this short, to talk about what's around the corner for you. Obviously 2022 is already 2.5 months, over 2.5 months old. Still plenty of runway left to go. So what's coming up this next year for you?
For me right now, I've got a lot of clients all over most of my clients are in the Spokane area, but I actually have clients in places like California, Kentucky, New Hampshire, Texas, and I'm looking to get some other clients obviously. So a lot of those are referrals. Most of my clients are referral based, but I'm actually looking at expanding out. I've got a goal of getting a new a coach by the end of the year. One of my visions is I have it called Vision 2032. Well, I will have 6 satellite offices, one in Spokane, one in Tri-Cities, Washington, Tacoma, Everett, Bend, and then be able to have marketing people in there who would be selling coaching, and then all of the coaches would work out of my Spokane office. So obviously, one of the things I always coach business owners is that you are going to exit your business someday. You should know when your business is going to be finished. And so if I sit down with a client and going, there is no immortality pill that's been invented. Therefore, you need to come up with an exit date for you and your business. And so one of my things is I know my exit date is April 30th, 2022. 2032, I should say. I'm sorry, 2032. So that's the whole thing there. And that's where one of the things that I really focus in on is build your business to where you want it to go. And therefore, instead of too many business owners are here looking downrange, maybe a year, 2 years, where I'm saying, no, go out all the way out and backwards plan. So I've done it for my business.
Perfect. Well, clearly you're ringing off the hook, people. People looking to connect.
Lesson number 1 of any kind of interview: disconnect your landline. Oops.
Honestly, it's all right. At this point now, a couple of years into this pandemic, with so many people working from home, I've seen cats walk across keyboards. Kids playing in the background. It's all fair game these days, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm actually in my office here, 10 floors up in the Paulson building. So yeah.
Lovely. So if people want to find out more about you, connect with you, maybe do business with you, do something else, how can people best find you? And also, where do you like to connect with people? Do you like to where do you like to exchange, direct messages or whatever? Everyone usually has like a preferred social media or preferred way to talk. So
yeah,
what's yours?
So my website is Kevin Weir. That's KevinWeir .actioncoach.com, and that's got all the information you need about events and about me and different coaching programs that I offer. My phone number here that just rang, 509-309-2922. And if I am in the middle of a coaching session, it will go to voicemail. Best way to really connect with me is on LinkedIn. So you can find me, just type in my name, and I'm right there on LinkedIn.
Kevin Weir in Spokane, Washington. I mean, I imagine there's a few Kevin Weirs on LinkedIn, but you might be the only one in Spokane.
I'm the only Kevin Weir in Spokane, Washington, unless some other Kevin Weir, for some strange reason, has recently moved here.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for being with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, that's it, Kevin. As I said, I really enjoyed this today. I think you've got a great podcast. And again, I would love to help out business owners who want to, in essence, live their entrepreneurial dreams.
I love it. Perfect message to end on. If you're listening and you're picking up what Kevin's putting down, you like what he has to say, reach out, call him. Prefer, not during a podcast, maybe just for a little bit of extra color. Wouldn't mind it at all. Kevin, thank you again for being here. Thank you to the audience for listening. And hey, we'll talk to you again soon.
Much appreciated, Kevin.